not very large, but they were large. The large-scale mass formations, which led to the emergence of communism and Stalinism in the Soviet Union. The large-scale mass formations, which led to Nazi Germany, to the emergence of the totalitarian state in Nazi Germany, they all shared the same characteristics. The population was exactly these four conditions were fulfilled, and then a new kind of solidarity emerged. And all the frustration and aggression was channeled by directing it at the people who did not want to participate or who couldn't participate in the mass formation. So, and then you have this very strange situation where people start from a very negative and aversive mental state, lack of social bond, lack of meaning making, free-floating anxiety, and a lot of frustration and aggression. They switch from this very highly aversive mental state to a symptomatic positive state, where they feel connected, their life makes sense because they are all, life start to make sense again through this heroic struggle with the object of anxiety. People are united in their struggle against the coronavirus, for instance. Mm-hmm. So, and their anxiety is connected to a mental representation, and they can satisfy their frustration and aggression. So that switch from a highly negative mental state to a positive mental state brings people in a kind of mental intoxication. That's why people continue to believe in the narrative, even if it is utterly absurd. And you know, the measures, the corona measures, for instance, like the social distancing, the mask wearing, the vaccination strategies, they function for a certain part of the population. And I'm talking probably about 30% of the population. It's not much more than that. Only 30% of the population usually is really into this process of mass formation, into this process of a collective hypnosis. Then there are an additional 40 or 50% who just go along with the masses, who will never go against the current, because in one way or another, they think it's better not to do so. And then there is an additional 20%, sometimes 10%, it depends a little bit, who really is not hypnotized at all and who also wants to speak out and do something to change the situation. But the first part of the population, the 30% who are really into the process of mass formation, for these people, the more absurd the measures are, the better they will work, the measures, and the more they will be inclined to buy into the narrative. That because the measures
is this function, the bigger the lie, the better. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, here? Indeed, yes. But the measures really function as a ritual, and the rituals are a kind of behavior that has to be without pragmatic meaning, and that has to demand a sacrifice of the individual. By participating in a ritual, an individual shows that the collective is more important than the individual, meaning that rituals have to be a kind of behavior that is without pragmatic meaning, that has no advantages for people, no pragmatic advantages, and that for which people has to sacrifice something. So that's a strange thing, that for a certain part of the population, it really doesn't make a difference whether the measures are absurd or not. And that's what's so strange for the people who are not in the process of mass formation, because they look and they see what's happening here. Do the people not see that what's going on is utterly absurd and that it's even dangerous? But no, they won't. Because.
It's brilliant. This cuts right to the core of, this is how profound it is for me. So children, not at all really statistically, just not even touched by COVID, except for very few who have some comorbidities. Actually, the science says they don't really transmit COVID all that well either, because they have such high innate immunity to this thing. And yet there are people out there saying we need our children to be masked, even though there's no science to support the idea that the mask does anything, except it probably harms the child's cognitive and social development skills at a critical period of time. So people are willing ritualistically to sacrifice their children.
Indeed.
That's powerful to me. Is that what we're talking about?
That's what we are talking about, yes.